People look at it and think, man, how can one man do this in his lifetime? But it wasn't in his lifetime. It was in like a third of his lifetime, because the other 2/3 were spent making money to do it. It's only ever been in his head. How did he figure it out? He just started stacking one rock on top of the other and making shapes out of it. And 53 years later, this is what you got.
Simple. A simple man with a big project.
All right, I'm Dan Bishop, and this is the castle my dad built, Jim Bishop. We have no idea how many tons of rock and concrete he's put in there over the years. Every one of these rocks comes from locally off the National Forest, road ditches, creek beds. You could see the crane in the background of the shot right here. I bought that for $500 out of a junkyard, and I've been using the crane. The way my dad did it was with a pickup truck, a cable, a couple of block and tackle pulleys, and a basket, and he'd haul the rock in, throw it on the dirt, and he'd put it on the basket. Then he would hook the truck up to the cable, back the truck up, pull the basket up. Then he would get up and he'd take it by hand off of the basket and stack it in spot.
Use it up, rappel down a rope, and do it all over again.
People are like, you must have had some machinery to do this. Nope, just that old beat up truck. So over the last couple years, my dad's health has declined. His Parkinson's has made it hard for him to do anything, and I'm pretty much in charge up here now. I've taken over.
Do you remember what year you started?
1969, same year as Men on the Moon in Woodstock.
He started me in 73, so he started castle building before he started human building. And it's been a part of my life for all of my life. I can remember climbing around on top of it, putting cement on top of the rocks he was building. That's the very beginning of the castle right here. In June of 1969, he started building a rock cottage, and this was the first room of it. This water tank standing in the corner back here, they decided to stand that up and then build a staircase around it and make it a 2-story cottage. And with the combination of the arched windows and the round tower, people that drove by said it looked like a castle. After 4 years of building this part right here in 73, my dad started digging another hole out front, and my grandpa asked him, "What are you building, Jim? What are you doing now?" He goes, "People want a castle, I'm gonna build them a castle." And my grandpa says, "That's it, I'm done." And so since 1973, it's been entirely a one-man project, because my grandpa didn't want to have anything to do with building a castle. He said, "Aren't we trying to come to the mountains and get away from people?" My dad is a bit of an egotist, and there came a point where he decided he had done so much of this by himself that he wanted credit for it being a one-man project. And so at very young age, I wasn't allowed to help, because if people saw me helping, it made a liar out of him. So here we are on the second level of the castle. This little arched room right here, the plan for it is to turn it into a little museum, probably have artifacts from things that have been used to build in it, and just old antique stuff like that old Ringer wash machine that's been sitting in here. My mom used to do laundry up here with that when I was a kid, but nobody ever lived in it. It never got to a point where you could heat it. So it started out as one room, and the more it grew in his head, and then he would get an idea to add this to it, and how am I gonna add this to it? It got up to a point where he was afraid that the walls might fall out. So when it got to a certain height, he decided to put the Flying Buttresses on that would keep it from falling outwards. This buttress down here with the steps on it, this was the very first of the Flying Buttresses. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know is the castle is all dug into bedrock. It's sitting right on solid rock. And that buttress right there goes 15 feet into the ground. So there's a whole part of the castle that you don't see that's underground. This roof, each one of those sheets, he bent from a flat piece and put them on himself. These were a form that he built, and during the winter months, he would pour these, haul them up with the cable, and set them in place. The only part of the castle you'll find that my dad didn't build. He installed the stained glass, but most of the stained glass is built by a couple various artists. This ironwork right here is kind of unique to the structure as well. My dad dropped out of high school when he was 15 to do the ironwork in Pueblo. And so the castle's got all kinds of this ornamental iron. In the early years, it was just weekends in the summer. The rest of the time he worked for a living, building patio covers, window guards, railings, stuff like that. Or he would have extra material from a job, figure out a way to place it in the castle. It takes a lot of abuse. If there's anything I have to do to maintain the place more than anything right now, it's come in and weld new tread plates on the stairs. Get a lot of people in here. It's a very big tourist attraction. A lot of people know it all over the world. It's been on international TV channels, and word of mouth gets out there. We don't do any advertisement. We depend on just people going out and telling their family that, hey, you know what we saw? So this is the part we call the Great Hall. Had lots of weddings. There's been musical events. For a while there, my dad kind of went a little nuts and let the ravers have weekend parties here. That was pretty insane, but they loved it. That one rave, there were like 50 people that had just collapsed in the middle of the night one night, just sleeping upside down in the dirt. And the tourists come in on a sad Sunday morning, just couldn't figure out what was going on, right? My dad loved the raves and the attention he got from it. Because if there's anything more that has built Bishop Castle than just sheer determination, is the attention he got while he was building it. They still call sometimes wanting to know if they can throw a rave, but the county imposed an injunction against the all-night musical parties here. So if you look at each one of them things right there, they're all uniform, right? They were built on the ground in sections, and then he had a big scaffolding, and he put the first one up. They put the second one up, and he moved the scaffolding back, and he just worked his way back and assembled in place. It's the same thing with the dragon on the front. It took him 6 months to build the dragon, and then it was brought up and hoisted up with a pulley and welded in place.
Well, that was to get the attention of the news media. They were ignoring me all they could locally. And when I put that dragon up there, they quit ignoring me.
It's actually built out of discarded stainless steel warmer trays from the hospital. And he took each warmer tray and cut it into 8 D-shaped scales, and then pop riveted each one to the metal frame. There was like something like 12,000 hand-driven pop rivets in the dragon alone to create that. These balconies are an add-on idea. What made him decide to put the balconies on here, I'm not really sure. You would think that he's been stacking rock. He'd done enough, but one day he decided to build a 6-foot wide balcony hanging off the side of the castle out of iron. And there's no real rhyme or reason to where it came from. The idea here is to have an elevator that'll service the 3 stories. It's got a Jeep winch in it right now. If I put a little work into it, I could get it to where to go up and down, but it by no means meets any safety standards, and I wouldn't want anybody on it, right? This square tower that comes up, it's 160 foot from the ground to the top of the spire up there. There was a time where he was hauling 3 tons of rock every 2 days and installing it in that summer, and that tower went like 60 feet in one summer. It's just insane the way he would wake up with the sun and get in that truck right there and go out and load it plumb full of rock. He would put the rocks on the platform, get in the truck, and back the truck up. The reason why that tower is that tall is because he couldn't back up any further without driving off the cliff. As it is with everything right now, the biggest expense to building Castle was the fuel money it took to get the cement here. We're poor people. We've always been poor people. My mom did things on a shoestring budget. I'd be surprised if altogether you had $200,000 into material over the years, because the rock is free.
Where'd you get all the stones?
Cleaning out along the bridges, public lands, doing a public service.
Now the government tried to stop him from getting it for free, so for a while there he was paying 15 cents a ton to get a permit from the National Forest, and then they finally just give up on that after a while. And he hasn't bought a permit in a long time. My dad doesn't like to do anything that doesn't make sense. And there's too many rules on the books that make no sense. When he was a young kid, early teens, he went to Seven Falls. And it was all my grandmother and grandfather could do to pay the admission price to get in. And then when he got in, he was climbing on some rocks as it came over the loudspeaker, "Hey, you little kid on the mountain, get off of there," and it embarrassed him. And so he decided, when he was a young kid, that he was going to do something for the people, where it didn't cost a lot of money for a poor man to go and enjoy it. And then he wasn't going to tell people how to act when they got there. Me and him both consider this to be one of the last true places of freedom in the world. You might, if you stick around here long enough, catch somebody climbing over the edge of the top and swinging off from a rope. It's not unheard of for people to do crazy stuff like that up here. And as a bishop, the guy running the place, I'll just stand back and watch. You know, anywhere else you go, you got to sign some insurance waiver and all this. But because we don't charge, we're not running a business. We're not responsible for their welfare. It's an enter at your own risk. If you do not agree, do not enter. This is private property. I have this theory that in the safety-minded world that we live in, we actually create danger by masking it. Nobody's ever fallen off of this, but as they come up, they're scared to death. They're hanging on tight. They're not testing this or that. They're not leaning on a railing going, oh, what happened here? They're afraid it's going to fall off. Therefore, they don't push on it, right? And amazingly, in the years, nobody's ever gotten hurt on this thing, really hurt. We looked into trying to insure it. Nobody will touch it. So we'll head on up these stairs that he built. I don't remember what year he built the stairs in here, but they didn't exist for a long time. You could see where he drives the pin into the rock. Then he would lay the step in, weld the pin to the step, and just worked his way up one step at a time. This little bridge over here is pretty neat. This is one of those ideas that you would be like, why is this here? Well, he decided when he got this tower here and he got that chimney tower over here, wouldn't it be cool if I built a walkway that went across from one tower to the other? So there was a time when he was actually out here building with nothing over here. So he was hanging in the air on the steel that he was building. This is an example of how he got the material up here. He would hang a pulley off of that point, drop the cable down, build up to the pulley, and then he would weld more iron scrap up and hang the pulley another 10 foot high and build up to it again. So the idea of this metal structure right here, it's a geodesic dome. His idea was to put one-way mirrors you could see out, and at night, the moonlight, as it spun, because it's built on a track and it'll go around in circles, would be like a big disco ball. And that if there were aliens visiting from outer space, it would attract them. And then we could open the place up free to aliens as well. The big permanent picture in his head that I think I have a similar picture in my own head is 2.5 acres surrounded by wall with vendors and like a Renaissance festival happening all the way around the 2.5 acres.
I like to see it get bigger, but being retired, it won't. And I pray to God every night that I get back to my old self and start working again.
There's this thing going on right now with my dad where he might be better off in a retirement home, but I believe in the same kind of freedom that he does, and this is where he wants to be, sitting out there telling the story to people.
I enjoy people's company. I like to show them what I've done.
Hopefully we can keep him right up here till the day he dies, because I know this is where he wants to be.
I'm Jim Bishop, and the castle is the coolest thing I ever made.